Philmont membership, Justin Regal, back here with our superintendent, Tony Johnson, for a quick update about what's been happening the past 7 to 10 days. We thought it fitting to do a little fireside chat today since it was actually snowing and sleeting this morning, so this is kind of nice. But thanks for taking time out of your day. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been happening?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty busy 7 to 10 days here. The springtime, you make a lot of chemical applications to get you through the summer, whether it be crabgrass, goosegrass, any insects. You start now and establish that base. So the guys have been on the sprayers. We've been cleaning a lot of stuff up with the winds we've been having. We've had a lot of branches down. We lost a couple trees. So we've been cleaning that up and just general course cleanup, just kind of getting everything ready for whenever the restrictions get lifted to where we can have golf again.
Excellent. So we did have a couple questions, a couple of viewer questions from our last update. One of them was tree stumps. What are we doing with the tree stumps that are maybe just out of play, the ones that are completely out of play? Maybe there's a difference between the two.
So there's some areas, like if you look behind 5 green, we took down 7 pine trees behind 5 green to help with some sunlight. We're actually going to cut those down to about ground level, and then we'll cover those with soil.
Okay.
And then we're actually going to add fescue back there just as a stop in case anybody does go over the greens. A lot of the areas where there are stumps that are out of play, that's what we're going to focus on, is just kind of cover them up, get some fescue growing on them, and they'll be native areas. The ones that are in play, we're getting to the point where we're getting caught up to where we're going to get in there and stump grind those eventually.
Good. That's great. I saw a new piece of machinery that you were playing on today. And you and I talked a little bit about what that was. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you, so I'm going to let the expert do it. But why don't you tell us benefits of what it's going to do for our greens and what it is exactly?
So if you haven't been out here, especially on greens, a lot of the greens, we're over that 90% coverage. We just have some areas that are pocketed that, we're dealing with some algae. And, with this verticutting head that we have, it allows us to get below the grass surface where the mowers can't get. I try to explain it as it's a bunch of ninja throwing stars, if you will, that rotate at a very high speed. It's not a dethatcher, but it cuts just above the surface, so it disrupts all of that algae that we see, and it'll allow grass to grow through that.
So some of the little spots that that we're talking about that have that algae, once we're able to break that up, how soon before that grass will start filling in those areas?
So we just did another fertilizer application on the greens. So once the temperatures warm up a little bit, we're looking for nighttime temperatures.
Yeah.
Nighttime temperatures that aren't in the 30s, low 40s. We want, upper 40s, low 50s.
Like the freeze we've been having the past few nights is not
exactly
ideal.
It hasn't been good. That stops growth for a couple of days. But once we disrupt those, which we did today, those areas will gradually start to fill in. We're also bringing down the mowing heights, so you won't notice them as much, and it won't affect play.
Great. The range tee, I'll show you some pictures of the range tee here right now, so you can see how great that is looking. Anything else we're doing different to it, or it's just giving it a lot of attention?
Well, when I got here, it was not in the greatest of shape, and that was one of the priorities that Danny and Mike and myself talked about. So, we paid a little bit more attention than normal to that tee. We've aerified it twice, we've seeded it quite a bit, and it gets a weekly round of fertilizers just because it gets so much use. So it's been seeded, it's been aerified, we just verticut it today. So we'll treat that as the same as any other tee.
Yeah.
Even though we know it gets abused a lot more.
I mean, we have a very large tee.
Yes.
And so a big part of the, my understanding, the upkeep of that is just being consistent about us moving, every day to a new location and allowing the heel going back in with divot mix, etc.
Exactly. So, with the sign that you made out there, informing.
I didn't make it. That was their They fully made it. It was just one of my many ideas.
Many good ideas. With informing them on how to properly take divots on the range tee, that is a big deal for the maintenance of the grass. If you take divots in straight lines and not a big area, it's faster to fill in. It's easier to fill in.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when you look at like the strips of grass as they're taken, you'd only have about that far for the grass to gradually grow together versus a big area. It's going to take a lot longer for it to get in the middle, which is why we continue to push about doing divots in straight lines, moving over a little bit, another straight line, moving over a little bit, versus scattered, which takes up a lot more space, or doing a big patch and it takes a lot longer to fill. So this is very important for our range, so it can continue to look really good and recover faster. Correct?
Absolutely.
Great. How about anything else we're doing? I know as I was driving around the golf course yesterday, we were cleaning up kind of the stream that cuts through the middle of the golf course, and then we were cleaning that up. Do we have an end goal for that area? I mean, that is, with all the trees down, that is beautiful running through there.
Yeah, so we have a little bit more to clean up. It got just a little too wet for us down there yesterday, but my grand vision, if you will, is to just fescue that area as well. It's an out-of-play area. It's not used by golfers. It's a low-maintenance area for us. So I'd like to see some fescue in there and just grow that up. And then, eventually, if we limb up those trees even more, you're going to have a better view.
Great. The spots and fairways. I know there's a few areas that are left. Are we going to sod them, or are we going to wait for them to fill in a little bit? I know our priority right now is absolutely the greens. Fairways, for the most part, are coming along very nicely. Any of the larger areas, in particular 18, a little bit spots on 1.
So the main areas that I see right off the bat when you drive around is 2 fairway, number 16 fairway down by the cross bunker.
Yes.
Number 18 fairway, number 10. Those are the areas. Those are going to require a great deal of sod. So like you said, our priority right now is the greens. Once we get to a point where I think we can break away from that, which is very soon, we'll start looking at those areas and starting to fix those up.
Right. And once we're able to reopen, we have options for any of those areas that still have not filled in completely. Again, it's only 3 fairways really, and only spots on those fairways that haven't filled in, but we have options. We can call it ground under repair, we can move it a little bit. So I'm not in particularly worried about it, but I know a couple of people have asked as well. So we have a great plan in place for that. It's going to rain tomorrow. What do you do on a rain day?
You would think that we all go home.
I would love to go home personally. But
Well,
it's a great day to get caught up on office work.
Exactly. I don't have an assistant at the moment. We're currently searching for one. So that's my time to get caught up with everything office-wise. And then the guys, anything we haven't finished from the wintertime. We still have some out-of-bounds stakes to paint. We still have some directional stakes to get caught up on. So it's little stuff like that. And then anything that we haven't stained, we can bring in the day before, stain it in the shop, and then go from there. And then, in all actuality, it's a shop maintenance day. It's getting the shop cleaned up. It's getting things organized to where, it's a work efficient space.
Right.
And unfortunately, we don't have the space to accommodate a lot of our equipment. So we have to get creative on how we park it. A lot of our equipment is brand new. So I expect my staff to be driving around in clean carts, clean mowers.
Right.
So it's a day for us to get caught up with the little stuff that we don't get to do on a normal basis.
It's like spring cleaning. Anyone
Exactly.
is stuck inside for a rain day, sure you go through pantries and clean up, and we clean up the golf shop bag room, and you clean up your area.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's a great day. It's a great way to spend some time and just get organized. Anything else? Anything else to add?
No, I mean I think we're on the right track. We're coming along. We still have a lot of applications to put out. Our wall-to-wall fertilizer is going out next week. We kind of base that off the rain just because it's such a large application. So we got to be patient on when we apply that. Even though our irrigation system is up and running and working, you still like Mother Nature to give you a little hand in the afternoon and overnight. So, you know, that's going to come out. So everything's going to get even greener than it already is. Areas are going to start to fill in even more than they are. So, you know, I think we're on the right track, and we're getting really close.
So one thing I think we mentioned last time about the new cut around the greens. They look really, really good. I took some video, I took some pictures of them. What was the purpose of putting that back in? I know from a golfer standpoint, which I'll tell you in a minute why I love it, but you know, maybe from your perspective?
For me, it's aesthetics. You know, I think having that intermediate cut or step cut, whatever you would like to call it, I think that adds just another level of aesthetics that, you know, that really makes things look better. So for me, it's mostly aesthetics. It's a little bit higher maintenance for us.
It's more work, right?
It's more work.
But it looks great.
But the aesthetics of the step cut make it worth the while.
So I love it from a golfer standpoint. If you think about when you hit a golf ball onto the green, either rolls, you know, you spin it off or it rolls to the back. As that golf ball rolls, and if you have a longer cut, golf ball sits down here and you have that much rough, it's just harder to get to versus the step cut, then you can at least maybe be able to get the top half of the golf ball or even a little bit more. So from a playability standpoint, you have a lot more options when that ball rolls.
And that's also true with our mowers. You know, we're mowing extremely low on our greens, and it takes a significant amount of time for the reels to come up. So if you have rough all the way to the edge, and they don't come up all the way, you're going to have a lot of scalped areas. So, you know, you want that extra time to lift and to be able to turn. So that's another.
That's good. And then the last thing was the greens are coming along nicely. I know you went in on Monday, Tuesday, and sodded a bunch of areas. So, or do we have any more sodding left to do, or you want to wait and see how things progress over the next week?
So we have 4 greens that, like I said, they're above the 90% threshold and what we're looking for, but they're just a little too patchy for my liking. So we went in on those 4 greens and we just added some sod just to the areas it really made them look a lot better. So we have some here and there. It's very small spots. So we're getting to the end of our sodding and our plugging and all of that. Okay. So, you know, I know you walk up on a green and you think, you know, oh, this doesn't look great. But in all actuality, we're right where we need to be.
So much farther ahead than when we were, you know, back in September, October, even last month. The progress, I mean, it's been taken off exponentially. But, you know, the other thing is, you know, again, since we aerified, the weather has not been very nice. I don't think we've had maybe, for as nice of a winter as we've only had a couple days in the last 10 that have been over 60.
It was warmer in February here than it was the past 2 weeks.
Next week looks to be nice, so we should see some good growth then. Correct?
Absolutely.
Good. Well, I think that's all I have. Anything else to add, or?
No, just hope everybody's staying safe, and you know, we're looking forward to golf.
Good. Well, again, appreciate your time. I know you want to get it back out, do a little fertilizer before the rain comes tomorrow. Thank you. Again, if you have any questions, anything else you'd like us to add for the next video, please go ahead and email me. Other than that, hope you're all safe and well. We'll talk to you soon.